This is Jared, my main man Lewis. We're talking to you today about Alphaville. Alphaville is a 1965 French film. It combines dystopia with film and noir, creating a film that is one of a kind. The style of the film has never been seen before or even thought of until Jean-Luc Godard brought it to life on the big screen in 1965.
Hello, as he has mentioned, I'm Luis, and I'll start this off by talking about the main protagonist, which is probably the most interesting character you'll ever see in a science fiction film. His name is Lemmy Caution, as he wears a trench coat that is filled with various items, and throughout the film you can always see him taking pictures with his camera. All of them seem pretty most irrelevant, but seem important for some reason. Although he keeps doing it, Lemmy Caution is played by Eddie Constantine. Constantine is an American-French actor and singer who worked in Europe most of his career. He usually played the role of a trench coat wearing secret agent, but he's best known for playing the role of Lemmy Caution in this film. Constantine was born in Los Angeles. He tried making a career in America for singing, but it didn't work, so he left to Europe.
Jean-Luc Godard wrote this whole film on the go, so like everything that he made and it was produced, everything that he wrote was like usually written the day of the shooting. He would write the film during the day, then he would go out into the night. When Goddard submitted his request for funding, he said he had an idea for a film, but that was just a lie. Alphaville takes place in the future, and Lemmy Caution is a secret agent from the Outlands, and he's sent to Alphaville to find a missing secret agent from the Outlands. When he gets there, he finds the missing agent, but he realizes he's in too much of a worse condition to save him, so he ends up just, I don't know, the spoiler alert, the agent ends up dying. But so after that's done, his next mission is to find the person who created Alphaville, and that happens to be Professor Von Braun. So he created Alpha 60, and then this Alpha 60 turns into the kind of dictator of Alphaville. The computer starts making up all kind of rules and bans ideas and emotion, anything that can trigger human emotion. Computer Alpha 60 finds out that Lemmy Caution is a spy from the Outlands. Lemmy Caution escapes. He claims he had a secret weapon, and he uses that secret weapon that causes everyone, all the inhuman people, all the assimilated people in Alphaville to go crazy like ants. They start spinning around, going nuts, and that's when Lemmy Caution escapes with the girl, and he escapes Alphaville.
Perhaps one of the most interesting aspects that we both found about the film is how it was produced. You see, in this movie there's really no special effects at all. The film was shot in real life Paris during the nighttime, so there's many different interesting things going on in Alphaville. The first, as I mentioned, was how it was filmed. So the nighttime streets like gave it a futuristic look, but it was all actual real Paris. The buildings used were new and strange architectural creations in 1965. Even the voice of Alpha 60 was a guy with a hole in his throat, which was due to smoking, and was using a voice box. So even the slap of the lady at the beginning of the film is all real. It looks like it sounds like a special effect, but it is not. It is 100% real. And then there's even a handprint left after her being slapped. So what is so weird about this film is that no special effects were used in any way. All of it was improvised as each day went on filming. And it is probably a bit ironic that you expect a film of science fiction to be set like in any real futuristic world with props and all, but this film doesn't have any of that, and that has some meaning to it, which you can always infer a lot of things, but I guess it was making a comment on the fast-growing technology world that we live in. Moving on to another fascinating subject of the film, let's now discuss perhaps one of the greatest aspects that the film has to offer.
Aside from the intelligently yet lazy kind of way that this film came to be, it still doesn't lack any of the features that are necessary in any science fiction film.
Yes, in particular, you had the most essential element. What's that, you may ask yourself? Well, let me tell you.
Okay, guys, you know when you go to the theater and you expect to be blown away by all the sciencey stuff and the technology that the film has to offer? Well, like I said, you don't get any of that with Alphaville. Instead, you get something better.
Yes, a creepy yet wonderfully crafted supercomputer, Alpha 60, has perhaps one of the best voices that I've ever heard in any sci-fi film. I don't mean that just word voice or a varic voice that most technologies take on, but one that really frightens you because you realize it is just a person with a severe case of bad vocals. It's genius. No, but really, hearing that voice say all the perfect nonsense that makes the perfect logical sense leaves you wondering whether we should aim to be logical. Seriously, I mean, who doesn't want to sound smart like that? Maybe logic is indeed the way.
As I was saying, yes, the characters in this film are extraordinarily ordinary, a point we will further discuss later on. The important thing here to assess is the dystopian quality that this movie has to offer. Like most science fiction dystopian films, Alphaville takes on the artificial intelligent machines that desires to control all of humanity. However, there is something more about Alphaville. It sets its foundation on exposing a certain type of philosophy that may lead to a certain destruction, like the destruction of humanity. The philosophy I speak is one of political thought. Specifically, it has to do with totalitarian government that suppresses all these aspects of being human. Moving forward, Alpha 60 is merely a machine that is used to represent the detrimental effects that a totalitarian government can have on its people, who essentially become devoid of their humanity. Its effectiveness lies on portraying a machine, something opposite to the human, that is the only capable of perceiving a single aspect of being, which leads it to destroy all that opposes its logic.
Yes, I also agree. A strength of the film is the usage of something so inhuman to convey its political message. Being human beings, I believe it would be hard to accept that our humanity will reach to such evil extents. Yet in so many cases it has, but that the enemy be a machine makes the struggle not believable nor real, but a true possibility that could occur as we advance in a more digitalized era.
However, I would also add that the idea of humanity being oppressed by computers seems a little too much preposterous, which would perhaps weaken the film's motives. The unrealistic scenario ever occurring could perhaps derail some viewers to appreciate it less. I don't see that ever being a problem though. I find that being part of the real essence of any speculative film. The next topic is crystal clear theme of the film. Two opposing forces which carry throughout the whole film are logic versus emotion. Alpha 60 and Alphaville is the very representation of logic, which let me caution the protagonist in this representation of emotional being. As we have previously discussed, the rise of logic and technology could possibly lead to the possibility of losing the humanity that resides within each human. The film takes us to a literal and figurative level. In reality, it expresses what could potentially occur if humans continue to devote their lives to the knowledge.
What could that possibly be?
Well, as we know, Alphaville has everything yet it lacks everything. That everything is the self-awareness, the consciousness that has the ability to experience emotional existence is lost or rather incapacitated, thus leaving certain characteristics dormant, such as love. What this demonstrates is the loss of the human relationship. The communication that can be achieved in conversation is essentially lost. And if emotional being is lost, then existence is almost impossible, because that is the very basic nature of life.
Right on spot. The conflict between logic and emotion is a fight for the survival of the being which is at stake. Alpha 60 operates on only one single form of being, while humans have multiple forms. The superior form will always win.
Correct. There is a certain superiority or advantage that humans will always have, and that advantage would be the machine's weakness. Now let's discuss what's wrong with this feature. Any thoughts?
Well, one character that was supposed to depict emotion was not precisely the most emotional individual. That is natural, I suppose. He's not a romantic kind of guy, I guess. He plays the aging character much more effectively. Actually, no, as he gets caught. The point gets across, though. I think it played out nicely, particularly because of Natasha, which actually, the more I think about it, it's the actual representation of victory seen in another perspective.
That is a possibility. Now, before we sign off, any final thoughts on the movie? Did it meet the standards of a science fiction film?
Definitely, the film adheres to many of the genre's conventions, and so it does in a peculiar and strange way, yet it captivates you. I personally found the characters intriguing. Let me caution, he's a horrible journalist that makes you question his methods and skills. However, his smooth and calm character make him the more admirable, while the beautiful damsel Natasha enamours with their innocence and newly discovered self. And lastly, Alpha 60, the most interesting logical being that could exist, is creepy but fascinating. Overall, I enjoyed the movie and would recommend it to really anybody. Of course, taking it into consideration the age of the film, it will probably not meet many people's standards, and like myself, many will initially find it profoundly confusing. That could be a problem potentially. However, with some openness and a little afterthought, the movie can be and will be appreciated more.
Well, there you have it, folks. Alphaville is a classic that should be taken at heart. It only requires being illogical while perfectly being logical. I am Jared,
I'm Luis.
and this
This
is
was a film review
for
of Alphaville.
Alphaville. Yeah.